Hey, we've all heard it said that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it. What happens when you face adversity and challenge? Man, we have a special guest today on the pod. It's Clarence Bethea. We hope you'll join us today on Leading Forward.
All right, Clarence, man, thank you so much for joining the show today. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate mutual connection with Ryan Wildman. Shout out to Ryan for making this connection. So as we get into this, we're going to ask you a little bit about who you are, but I really just wanted to start off by reading a little bit of your bio. Clarence began his career in entrepreneur when he founded Upsie, an online marketplace for purchasing transparent, extended electronic warranties, putting power into the hands of the consumer rather than big bucks. Clarence launched What VCs Won't Say, a platform, course, community, all to be able to help venture capitalists move forward. Man, there's a lot more there. There's a lot of stuff. I feel like I was reading so much information, but really a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Man, Clarence, tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of your journey.
For sure. First of all, thank you both for having me in today. As I said, it's been a journey. And I think when I look at my core to who I am today, I'm really just here to serve. Everything I do is about serving other people and hopefully being an inspiration to them that anything is possible. I thought, KG said it best when the Celtics won the championship. Anything is possible. And I believe that's how life works.
All right, so are you a Celtics fan?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm a KG fan.
Okay. All right. I just had to clarify. So good. So how'd you get to this point?
You know what? I'm a big shout out to the man upstairs because I don't think I'm here without him. I come from the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. I was born and raised in this place called Decatur, and did everything wrong that a young man can do. Was in the streets, selling dope, robbing folks, just doing everything possible that a young man can do to survive at that point. I remember my mom at 16 told me, she said, you are going to be dead or in prison by the time you're 18 if you keep on this route. And I look back now as a 45-year-old man, I was like, she was so right.
Yes.
I was headed down that path. Making dumb mistakes, doing dumb stuff, but I was also a really good basketball player. So a lot of leeway, my coach would sometimes come get me out of juvenile because we would have a game the next day because we need him to play, right? Yeah. And he would sign me out. And so I was kind of in that world all the way up until probably 25 years old, just a knucklehead. Really had no vision, no purpose for my life. It was just like, I'm living the day and this is what it is. If I die tomorrow, who cares? Did that. And then at 25, I was looking at 15 years in prison. And that was an eye-opening moment because I was like, this is going to be 11, 12 years of my life that is going to be gone. And I remember I was standing in the courtroom getting ready to get sentenced, and the prosecutor was like, we'll give you 5 years today, but if you take this to trial, we're going to give you 15 years. And the judge called them up to the front of the room and had her hand on the mic, how you see on Law and Order, and she's talking to him. And as she's talking to him, the prosecutor is getting madder and madder and madder. And I see it happening. And she tells him to go back to his seat. And she says in front of the whole courtroom, she says, Clarence, I'm not going to throw you away. I'm going to give you a second chance at life. So I'm going to put you on 5 years probation. And if you complete probation, we'll just walk away from this. But if you mess up on probation, I'm giving you all 15 years the first time you walk back in this court. That could have been nothing but the man upstairs because I didn't deserve that. Sure. I wasn't expecting that, and she did it. And so once she made that happen, I remember I got out, and that is when life started to turn itself around. And I remember I always tell this story, especially to startup founders. There comes a point in your life where you have to make a decision that enough is enough. And mine was sitting in a cell. My roommate was in for 3 murders. He was about to get sentenced. And I got my head in one of those thin mattresses that they have inside of prison. And I got my head in the corner, and I'm literally crying out to God. Literally, with my murderer roommate in there. I'm crying out to God, and I say, if you get me out of this one, I promise you, I will do everything I can to make sure people see you in me. Now, I'm not going to do it your way. Like, I'm not going to do it the traditional way. And I'm not going to beat people with a Bible and do all that. It's just not who I am. I said, but they're going to be able to look at me and say, only God could have brought him here. That's the only person, because he was supposed to be dead or in prison.
Yeah. Hearing that, Jim and I were both police officers way back in the day, and just hearing your story, I remember a time, I've told the story before on our podcast, that I was sitting in South Dallas in a squad car crying to God, going, God, why in the world am I here?
Right.
This is not what I want my life to be. And so we're at the same place before God.
Yep.
It looked different to
Two
the
different
world,
lives. Yep.
but we were both doing the same thing, going, man, God, this cannot be my life.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So, okay, so what began to change?
I think one thing that changed is I became the most humble and voracious learner that I could be. Like, I wasn't a great student. I was always, because of basketball, I was kind of always like the best at that. I was always like an enforcer on the street, like, tough guy, don't mess with me. And I think what happened is, like, I surrendered myself to humility. I just say humility felt like the best way to be. And then 2 years later, I ended up having a serendipitous meeting with the CEO of Best Buy, just by happy chance. He brought me over to Best Buy. He sat me in the lunchroom, and he told me something that I had never heard up to that point. And he just said, I think you're special. He's like, I think you have these skills that I can't teach a person to have. Like, you're charismatic and people like you. You just have this gravitas about yourself. I can teach you business, but I can't teach you to, like, own a room. And we went on a journey for like 8 years where he just mentored me. So I went from a kid in the hood to flying on private jets to meeting with big time CEOs around the world in all of the big rooms. And it was really all about humility. It was about I just wanted to learn as much as possible.
Man, I love it. That learning, me and Jeremy have talked about that a lot over the 30-something episodes of how important it is continue to learn, continue to understand more. You don't understand anything at this point of life. No matter how far you've come, there's still so much more. Well, was there a book, a person that you just like grasp onto and said, man, I've got to learn everything I can?
Well, I think when you're mentored by the CEO of Best Buy and you're from the hood,
that's a big thing.
You tend to kind of grab onto that. And I think what he did was he allowed me to fail during the process, right? There was just like a lot of etiquette stuff I didn't know. I didn't understand. I didn't even know how to show up in the right clothes back then. I remember I showed up to something I had on like a red baseball cap backwards with a shirt with an eagle on the front. It was like a super important event and Jordans. I didn't know,
and
right?
You looked good.
No, I don't think I look very. I look back now, I'm like, I didn't look very good, right? But I think he allowed me to make mistakes and allowed me to fail, and wasn't scared to say, hey, you can't do that anymore. Like, part of what I did with him very early on, I went to a meeting with him. I messed up in the meeting, and he put me in body language classes. He put me in speech classes.
Oh, that's great.
Like, he was like, oh, let's fix these things. And I think it was all of those things where I was like, all right, like, I just latched on to him for a while, and it was a positive experience.
Man, that's incredible.
You hit on so many things in terms of leadership. Like, all these bells and whistles are going off. And if people are listening to this or watching this right now, I hope so. I hope that things are going off like, man, humble, hungry, smart, the whole Lencioni thing. There's just a value in showing up with humility, but that doesn't mean you can't show up and own a room and know how to read and own a room. When you walked in here a few moments ago and you came directly to me, we hadn't even met before, and you just shook my hand firmly. Everything like that communicates something. So that's really cool, man.
Cool. Thank you.
You walk back out and he goes, that guy's got a heck of a handshake.
I did, man. Because, it's a funny thing, because you go in with one thing in mind, and then you got to reciprocate a little bit. But you don't want to be like doing this weird thing. And I didn't want to make it weird.
No.
Did I make it weird?
No. So I have a rule. When I first meet people, and I tell my son this all the time, it is your job to make that person feel comfortable with you when you walk in the room. And, I'm 6'3", 250 pounds. I'm not a small dude. So a lot of rooms I walk in, I'm normally like the most dominant person in the room. And I think shaking somebody's hand firmly and smiling and saying, great to meet you, is such a way to break all of that
ding,
out.
ding, ding.
That's right. And it's easy.
It's easy. It's super easy. Yes.
So All right. So go back to your time with the CEO. Was there one big lesson that you said, or maybe a quote or a thing that was the biggest for you?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things I learned from him was vulnerability is power. Especially in a day and age where AI is kind of ruling the roost today. Yeah. I think if you have the ability to be vulnerable, because I think my thing on the world is that we all are broken. Every single one of us, we're broken. I don't care what we show on social media. I don't care what we drive or what kind of house we live in. When we're by ourselves in that shower, like, we're all broken thinking about the things that are broken. We all have vices and things that we would never want the world to see. And with him, he was like, the way you win is by making sure that you show people your scars, because then they'll show you theirs. And when people start showing their scars, something really powerful can happen. And I'm sure you know this from being a pastor. Like, you probably have so many people coming at you with what's going wrong. And I think it's powerful when you can say, look, I am also broken. So that is why, like, we can do this together.
Yeah, that's great. It's good. I think so often young entrepreneurs, even business leaders that get to a certain level, they just want to be the one who knows everything.
Yes.
And, you know, when you talked a couple weeks ago, yes. I was just talking and asking you some questions about how do you lead and what you're speaking, what does that look like? And that's what you talked about. And it just reminded me of the things that, man, I did early, and then you get away from it because then you want to be the expert.
Yes. Yes. And I think because of AI, everybody wants to be the smartest person in the room.
Sure.
And, you know, I often get asked, like, when you're doing the speaking stuff, like, what are you concentrating on? Like, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, I am trying to create connection. Like, I am trying to make sure that you understand I'm broken, you're broken, and we may sit here and cry and laugh and whatever the emotions that happen, but we're going to do it together. It's not going to be smart Clarence up here and venture capital is blah, blah, blah. I'm not interested in that. I really want you to feel me.
That's good.
And when I leave, I want you to continue to feel me.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, then, you know, the business side of what I do will show itself.
So you can either go to inform or you can go to move people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're a mover.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Man, okay, so let me just take one beat and take a step back because, man, I might show, let's be vulnerable and authentic.
Yeah.
I honestly have heard venture capitalists for so long, and I've never really known what that means. And there may be other people listening today, and we talk about Upsie, and we talk about being a venture capitalist. And tell us a little bit about what just that means, and what did that look like for you?
Yeah, so venture capitalists basically takes money from limited partners, so LPs, and then they invest it into startups, depending on the stage, early stage, growth stage, whatever. I think for me, I knew nothing about venture capital when I started like my journey. I didn't know what CAC LTV meant. I didn't know what metrics were. I didn't know any of this. I was just like, this sounds like a good idea. Let's do it. And then I learned about venture capital. And I learned about these dudes that would give you money to help you grow your business. They take a piece of your business, and then they help you grow. And I knew about it from the founder side. So I learned about it. I was like, oh, I need to be great at storytelling, because the better I am at storytelling, the more money people give me. That was the simple equation for me. Like, that is, I'm not going to say easy, but that is how simple it is.
Okay.
Be a great storyteller. People believe you and the vision. They give you money. And then I got on the other side of the table, and I figured out there was this whole other world of venture capital that I knew nothing about, that venture capitalists was doing, how they made their money, how they made profit, how they made their LPs whole. All of that world, it was like, whoa. And founders don't know that world because they don't sit on that side of the table normally. And so that is why, like, my experience is unique, because I've gotten to see it at a high level on the founder side, and then I got to see it at a really high level on the VC side. You know, True Ventures is first, you know, checking the Peloton, Fitbit, Duo Security, Ring Doorbell. So, like, they've seen it so many times that I got a really hard lesson into what it really looks like on the other side of the table.
Wow.
Okay, so when I think about that, I think that really maybe the thing that put venture capitalists and kind of the whole idea on the map was Shark Tank, right?
Yeah, it's funny. Everybody brings up Shark Tank, and I think it's a great entertainment show.
Okay, so that's what I was going to say. So Jeremy watches a police show and goes, "Nah."
Right.
You've got to watch Shark Tank and go, "No, that's not happening."
You watch Cops and you're probably like, "Come on, really?" Right. Same thing. I watch it and I say, great entertainment and it influences entrepreneurship, and I think that's really important because I think we need more entrepreneurs. But a lot of it is just made for TV fake. Yeah. Terrible advice, terrible feedback. It's just terrible.
Why do you say that? Why do you feel like, what is it about that industry or that process or what happens there where you say, man, the world needs more of it?
Yeah, so I think entrepreneurship teaches you something that I don't believe many other things teach you, unless you want to go through my situation, which is growing up in the streets and learning how to deal with adversity. When you start to build a company, and you both know this, building a company is one of the hardest things that you are going to do. And I think a lot of people get into entrepreneurship and they say, I'm going to open this business, I'm going to sell 100,000 of these widgets, and I'm just going to blow up, I'm going to have millions of dollars, I'm going to be good. And then 6 months later, they haven't sold one, and they're like, what happened? What did I go wrong, right? And I think that training, teaching you how to get through adversity, teaching you how to figure stuff out. I meet so many entrepreneurs and they just don't have that skill. Yes. And it's not that it can't be learned, because I learned it. I just think it's harder than what you think. Mm-hmm. And we read these stories online. Like, I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs will come to my DMs and they will say, oh my God, Clarence, like, you're from the streets. You don't have a Harvard MBA, blah, blah. If you did it, I'm going to do it. And I'm just like, okay. All right. And then they always reach back out a year or so later and they're like, it's not as easy as it looked. I'm like, no, it's one of the hardest things I've done in my life.
We had a guy on here last week, Justin Wagner, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. He's created multiple businesses, really done really good. And he talked about this adversity, and he has apparel, and one of the things he has on one of his shirts says, everyone can, few will.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? That the ability to persevere and to continue and to learn and to be humble enough to, it's just going to be a grind for a while.
Yes.
That's that whole Maxwell thing. It gets told different ways in different circles. It's like, John Maxwell was at an event and a young, a Thundercat comes up to him. I want to do what you do. And he's like, that's great, but are you willing to do what I did to do what I do?
Right.
I feel like that's your story.
Yes. Yeah. Are you willing to sacrifice? I say all the time, my wife, she almost divorced me 4 times during the Upsie journey, and she had every right to. Are you willing to sacrifice family to make it work? I just think most aren't.
Yeah. So, man, let's click on that for just a second. So you got 2 kids. Mm-hmm. How old are they?
My daughter Addison is 11 and my son Austin is 9.
Okay. Man, if we could just let's go kind of like, let's get in our feels just for a second. Because if you had a word for someone who's 10 years before where you are now, 15 years before where you are now, and they're feeling that, and they got the tension and they've got the friction at home, and is there anything that you would just lean in and let them know?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question, by the way. I think that people are too busy looking at the destination. And I think as humans, we focus on, I want to get here, right? Whatever here is, right? Whatever the stuff is on the other side of here, they want to get there. But I don't actually think that's what builds you. I think the thing that builds you is the journey. And it doesn't matter whether you win or lose on the end. It's who you become during the journey. And I think a lot of people are missing that point. Like, I think being here is cool, but I can tell you the man I've become over the last 12 years because I had to go through this journey, and in that it forced me to become. I became a better husband. I became a better dad. I became a better friend. I became a better business person. I became more self-sufficient on who I believe I am, and just really living in that power. And that has nothing to do about the destination where I'm at today. That's about the adversity I had to go through. So if I was talking to an entrepreneur that was 10, 12 years behind me, I would say, embrace it. This is, whether you like it or not, this is the best thing for you. And you can't run from it. You can't jump over it. You can't walk around it. You have to go through it.
I think that's so good. I mean, talk about that, and from business owners and entrepreneurs to people in their spiritual journey, you can't skip steps.
You can't.
And when you try to skip steps, you're missing part of the learning process, part of the growing process, part of the really even becoming of who you're becoming in the process. And so I think that's such a good word.
Daniel's faith wasn't developed in the den. It was
just revealed there.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
So
it's just revealed, man. What a good word.
Yeah.
What a good word. Can I just ask, as you're talking about the process, I couldn't agree more. And what's next in your world? What's next for you? You have a next?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I'm relishing in the now. This is the first time in my life where I've just been able to do now and not think about, should I start another company? I'm really enjoying the work I'm doing at what VCs Won't Say. I get to empower entrepreneurs all over the country. And I think it's okay just to sit in that for a while.
It's great.
Okay, so tell us more about what VCs don't say. Tell us what is that?
Yeah, so this got started out of the work that I was doing at True. I was seeing thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, and I kept asking myself, why when I meet an entrepreneur, he or she doesn't know how to play the game, right? Doesn't know how to come in a room with a venture capital, doesn't know how to get prepared to come in a room. And I would see a founder in San Francisco who knew the game because that's what San Francisco is. But then I would meet a woman in Atlanta, and I would be like, why are you so terrible at this? And it became very clear. She just didn't grow up. She didn't have a dad who was an entrepreneur and a mom who was an attorney. And she didn't get to learn all of these tricks of the trade and how you approach a VC. She didn't learn those things. Well, the kid in San Francisco who grew up in that and just knew inherently and got a chance to test it and try it. And at 17, he went to Stanford and started a business and failed and did all these things. And I was like, how do I get this information that I know that very few people know? How do I get this out to them? And that's kind of what manifested what VC Won't Say. I was like, I'm going to create a platform and a course where people can get this information and then they can bring me in and I do like a 5-hour workshop around it.
Great.
It's high intensity. Founders cry, they laugh because I'm telling them most of the time I'm the first person that's telling them their baby is ugly. And when that happens, a lot of time entrepreneurs, especially if you don't come from an environment where that is welcomed, I'm the first person who's told them that.
Okay.
And by the end of the session, normally founders are like, "We're so grateful that we've never heard any of this stuff, especially how you give it."
Okay, Jeremy, I'll just tell you. So me and Leslie were talking the other day, and she sent me some stupid reel. Okay, and about people doing stupid stuff. And I said, I think part of the problem is that no longer do people be told, hey, you're stupid. And we need to tell people you're stupid. Your baby's ugly. This ain't working in order for something to actually change, right?
Yes.
And I would guess that they hate that. It feels like a big uppercut, but then they go, okay, tell me why.
Yes.
Help me to understand why is what I thought was this brilliant idea really not a good idea, or you didn't present it in a good way.
Yes. Yeah, and normally it's the latter. It's not that it's not a good idea. I think there's a lot of good ideas out there. But normally, if you don't know how to tell that story, if you don't I'll tell you, if it takes me 15 minutes of a 30-minute meeting to understand what you do, you failed. And they're like, oh, well, how long should it take? I'm like, you get 4 minutes. Tell me what you do. I need to know these 5 things. And if I'm asking you questions like, so what you're saying is, or just to be clear, is this what you're saying? I say, you're failing the meeting, right? And it's little things like that if you're not in the game, you just don't know that you're failing.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And that's where you come in.
Yep.
Man, that's great. So, okay, I know this is not a we're not paying you for consulting. We're not bringing you in for this, but just let's throw a bone to people. If I came to you tomorrow and said, as a startup, I said, hey, I'm looking for $2 million. Mm-hmm. Without me saying anything, what's one thing you're looking for in what I'm about to say or do?
I would look at your ability to tell a story.
It's that important.
It's the most important time. Like you think about the world we're in today, everybody can build everything because of AI. I can go in Claude and copy your business and build it. what separates everybody who can build the great product is your ability to tell me a story and a vision that engages me and makes me see the future. Mm-hmm. People are terrible at that. And so your ability to be a great orator is such a separator, especially when you're early stage and you don't have proof points, you don't have traction. Like, that is what gets early stage founders money. So I would be listening for your story. Another thing that I'm looking for is your ability to tell a story is like connecting dots. I'm thinking about your storytelling ability, and I'm saying, is he good enough at this to talk to media? Is he good enough at this to hire that engineer from Google? Is he good enough at this to attract new investors? So all I'm doing is putting dots on the board. And when people are bad at it, I'm like, well, you're going to have a hard time attracting media. You're going to have a hard time doing this. You're going to have a hard time doing that. Well, do I want to invest in something where I feel like those things are going to be hard to do?
Right.
No. So I would first be listening for, do you have a compelling story that makes me lean in and want to learn more? And then from there, I can figure out the business. I can figure out, like I have enough, wherewithal to figure out if the business is worth it.
Yes.
But first, I'm like, are you the person that I want to pick up the phone at 1 a.m. in the morning and talk to?
So before you're even thinking about if the maths,
not even thinking about that.
You're watching and listening.
Because the math never maths in early stage.
Okay.
There's no early stage companies that you can look at the math and say, that's a home run. Now, forget what people are saying on TechCrunch and Twitter and all these places where like, I just knew Billy was going to be great. Well, it's easy to say that after they're a $10 billion company, right? In the beginning, nobody really knows, so you have to make the bet on the person.
Thank you.
Okay, so can you tell us a story? Maybe one of those people that that you invested in, that you believed in them, you saw who they were, and then it really did turn into something?
Yeah, so one I just recently invested in, this company called Praxis Pro out of Houston. Cam Badger, unbelievable founder. Actually, when I met him, I told him his baby was ugly. Like, I told him what he was doing, why he had a good business, it wasn't going to fly with VCs. You can't say these things. You can't do these things. And he's a black guy. He had a chip on his shoulder because he felt all VCs were saying no to him. So I said, hey, let's work together. Like, let's see if I can get you ready. And I remember he pitched me. I went to go play pickleball. I'm a big pickleball fan. I play a lot of pickleball. And I went to pickleball, and I came home at like 10 o'clock at night, and I sent him a text. And I said, hey, will you talk? Can you talk? He was like, sure. I was like, let me get home, get showered. I'll call you. We hopped on Zoom, and I just broke it down. I was just it was our first time meeting. Very just straight down the middle with them. He just closed around $6 million. And all because he listened, he took the feedback, and he'll tell you today, it hurt having a stranger say, these things are broken. But he was like, Clarence, I can look at your resume and tell, you know what's going on. This is just the way you give it. Either you like it or not. And yeah, he's already raised like $8 million total. Like he's well on his way. He's closing, huge contract, like 6-7 figure contracts. Like he's just on his path. He's going to build a $10 billion company.
Incredible.
It's incredible. Shout out to him. What's his name in the business?
Cam Badger from Praxis Pro. Shout out to Cam. I'm looking at him here. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love hearing those stories. That man, that they were backed into a corner trying to fight their way out, but there's that humility point.
Yes.
And going, okay, here's some humility. Here's some things you need to learn. And then when you put these things in practice, it actually becomes
It works.
something. Yeah. Love to hear that.
You talk about storytelling, man. This is what I've come to learn, that every great movie, book, or story, at some point there's a person that is not the main character that is pivotal to the trajectory change of the narrative, and that is a guide or a coach or a mentor figure of some kind. So to that story that you just told, that the true story, man, that's just evidence that, sometimes you can't do it all yourself. Sometimes you may be the smartest guy in the room and you're hitting your head against a wall and you're hitting hurdles, and you just need some humility, and you may need an outside voice.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of the slogan on my website, and what I market is guiding leaders to greater results. because everybody wants to be their own hero.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be the hero of their story.
Yes.
And I'm sure you see that all the time. Everybody wants to be the hero. They just don't know how to become the hero.
Yes.
And it takes that guide walking next to them. And that's what you become for so many.
Yeah. And I also think if you want to become the hero, like if you want to become the hero, serve others.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much of a hero you become when you spend your life just serving other people.
Yeah.
I feel like I've read that somewhere before.
A lot of places.
And probably a lot of people. I don't know.
No, it's so important though. You have to serve before you can lead.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so so you've gone through this journey, highs and lows and ups and downs. Even at the best places in business world and business life, there was a strain in the family. There was cost there. There was highs and lows in business. How did you deal with the adversity and continue to persevere through that whole journey?
Yeah, I once said to an investor, he said, "Man, why does it look like none of this affects you? Like you're not, you're not whatever." I said, "You know what's hard? Being shot at. That's pretty damn hard. If you want me to get stressed about not being able to make payroll on Friday, like we're gonna figure that out. We're gonna figure that one out. But this is why I think adversity is so important for people in their lives, because there becomes a point where you've gone through so much adversity where you're like, I know what this feels like. I know what this looks like. All right, I need to reset and I need to get myself moving forward. And that doesn't mean you can't be depressed, right? Because I think oftentimes we can't have these other feels. No, like there was times with Upsie where, I laid in my room for a month and barely showered and barely moved. And my wife had to come in and get me up and moving. But you learn how to bounce back every time. And when you have that muscle and you train that muscle, you figure it out.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point right there. I think every business owner, entrepreneur, every dreamer, pastor needs to go, you have to figure it out. You have to keep going.
Yes.
It's okay. Yeah. It's going to suck at times.
Yes.
You're going to feel like you got punched in the mouth at times. Don't quit.
Yes.
Keep going and find help along the way. Get someone that's in your corner that's fighting with you and helps you to have the skills to be able to reach to that next level.
100%.
Yeah. Love it. Man, such good stuff.
Okay, let's fast forward, and let's just say you're a granddad one day. Mm-hmm. What are you going to be called? What are the kids going to call you? What are the grandkids going to call you?
I mean, these new age kids, they call you Unc. That's the name. They call you Unc.
Course,
they call you Unc.
I feel good about this because my son's friends would come to the house, and they would call me Unc.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that feels good.
That's the new grandpa.
That feels good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say 20 years from now, you're a grandfather, and we're talking legacy. We're talking about what they remember. Mm-hmm. If you boiled it down, what's one thing that you want them to remember you for?
Yeah, I always talk about this moment as the casket moment. Like, I think every person should be thinking about that casket moment, because I think it keeps you centered on when people are standing over you, what do you want them to say about your life, right? And it's really during my Upsie journey and even during my VC journey, it really made me think about, do I want people standing over me saying like, man, he was a hell of an entrepreneur, or man, he was a hell of a VC? No, I don't care about that. I want my kids to say, he was a hell of a dad.
Yeah.
Right? I want my wife to say, he protected us by any means necessary. Right? I want my friends to say, when I needed him, he showed up. And so when I think about, my casket moment, that's what I want. I want people to stand over me and say, he did whatever he needed to do to make sure I was good.
Amen.
Man, good stuff right there. Yeah.
Amen.
That no one's going to remember how many businesses you owned or how many zeros you had. No one's going to remember any of those kind of things, but how you made them feel, how you treated them, how you invested in them. They're going to remember those things.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and my wife talked about that quite a bit. I'm just going, what do you want said? What do you want?
Yes.
And it came out of, I did a funeral, and the guy was mid-60s, which just feels like it's younger and younger every day, right?
Right, yeah.
And there were 20, 25 people at the funeral. And I'm just going, man, that's a life that, man, you didn't impact anybody. You didn't, no one even wanted to come be a part of this day.
Yes.
And when you invest in people and care for them, and how do you make them feel?
Yes.
More than data, more than information, more than all those kind of things.
Yep.
Okay, I want to ask you, you've talked about this, I'm going to switch gears. What do you think is the impact of AI?
I think
You mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah, I think it's tremendous. I think AI is going to change the world in both a positive and a negative way, right? I think the positive is people become more efficient. I think there's going to be a day where we don't even have cell phones and the AI is just working in the background, managing our lives, and we're not even thinking about it, right? Yeah. I'm sure you saw the whole like Elon Musk neural thing where it go in your brain. I think that's real. But the negative is where I think there's opportunity is the negative side is they talk about the epidemic of young men today and how they can't talk to women, how they're emotionless, how like all these things are happening because AI is running in the background doing all this stuff for them. So they have no need to go out and learn how to talk to a person, right? They have no need to learn how to be social. And I see it in my kids sometimes where like we're forcing them. You know, if my son walked in this room right now, he would shake your hand and say, "So great to meet you." Like I'm forcing them to have personality because I think in a world that is removing the need for that, it's going to be a positive if you have it. So I think AI is a great and a positive thing for us, but I also think there's a bunch of negative that we won't see until we'll probably be dead before we see the results of it.
Yeah. I think it is at both sides, two sides of the coin, right? There's such highs and such good, but if you lose the emotion, if you lose the connection, you lose the ability to communicate, and you're missing the opportunity for the future. Yeah,
but there's so much opportunity in that. Like I say to folks, I think I said this when we met, which is if you're not building your own brand today, like if you're not building a website and who you are and the thing that you do the best in the world, like I have a joke. You know what cutlers are? CUDDLERS. Cutlers. No. So there's professional cutlers today that you pay them $100 an hour. They'll come to your house and just cuddle with you.
Oh, stop.
That's their whole job. Cut like real cuddling. Nothing more, nothing less. Like you pay them $100 and they just come and cuddle.
Okay.
And young men, like this is a fad with young men because they're not going out and meeting people. So this is the way they get affection and touch and that feeling that we all get with our spouse. I say 10 years from now, it's going to be $1,000 an hour because it's going to be in such demand to get that affection because we're all going to be in this bubble where there's like the Jetson where it's telling us what to do. Yeah. But we're human. We all crave affection and attention. And so I think, you know, people are going to charge you $1,000 to come cuddle with you for an hour. I think it's going to be a thing.
Yeah. But we talked about this, that we're made for community.
Yes.
Yeah. We're made for one another. Yeah.
If we're on this topic, man, what would your price be? How much for somebody, a total stranger, to hire a cuddler service from Nick for an hour?
Can I see their picture first?
It's fair.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. That is fair.
Yeah, it's a variable rate.
Yes.
So, man, this is so good.
So good.
Clarence, thank you so much for taking some time just to invest in us. Mm-hmm. I know I've got some things I want to chew on and continue to think through.
Yeah.
What's one thing you want to leave us with and maybe the people that are listening today?
You know what? I there are people listening to this podcast who are in a tough place, much tougher than what any of us sitting at this table is in. And like, why I think it's really easy to get on here and say, but you're going to be okay. Like life is going to be fine or whatever. But I take a different route. I think you are where you're supposed to be at. And I look at the camera and say this, you are exactly where you're supposed to be at. Embrace it. Enjoy it.
That's good.
Because when you come out of this, you're going to be like, thank God that I'm not there anymore. Like how many times have you looked back at your life and say, I made it through that?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we learn to sit inside of that. And so I would tell any of your listeners, like, enjoy where you're at. Like, there's going to be better days that come. You're going to be all right.
That's great.
Good word. All right. So how do people find you? How do they find you? Either online or on social media?
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram. It's just Clarence_Bethea, Bethea. I'm not on X very much. I'm not on Facebook very much. So I'll probably say Instagram, or you can go to my website, which is just clarencebethea.com if I can ever be a resource.
Very good. And that's where all your courses are and everything else.
That's where everything is.
Very good. Hey, y'all, make sure that you give him a follow. Make sure that you subscribe to his stuff. Continue to learn from great leaders like this.
Yes,
that's what this whole season is about for us as we're going through this season 3 of Leading Forward. How do we learn from leaders? People who have different stories, different backgrounds, different journeys. But, man, we need to learn from, get better from it, and go, man, I need to learn from people who are on a different journey and know things that I don't know and have the humility in the process.
Yep.
So
appreciate you, Clarence.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me,
brother.
I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you so much for being part of Leading Forward today. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share this with someone today. There's someone who needs to hear this message to stay in the journey, keep fighting. You're going to make it through. And when you don't know what to do, call someone. Don't wait. Don't wait till maybe things will get better. Reach out to someone today. Maybe it's a coach. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's just a friend who you say, I need to talk to someone. Thank you again for being a part of this. We look forward to seeing you next week on Leading Forward.